Someone asked a question about a year ago, what I would do if I was lost. One of the most difficult things to admit is when you're actually lost, because it sounds good to always have the answers. It sounds good to just always be secure. But that's not what you see in the scriptures. That's not what you see in the lives of the saints. You constantly see this interplay of how they enter into situations of just they're unsure how it's going to unfold. Now, I don't want to compare myself to some of the great giants of orthodoxy, men and women that surpass me in their devotion towards God. But in my own right, as a person, I definitely take notes from people, from great people, men and women, who did their best to be faithful to God in their own way. And I thank God that there are people like ranging throughout our history, some as old as 1,000 years ago, 1,600 years ago, to people just a couple of decades ago. I usually defer to them because they're the closest, and so they understand our current like predicament a little bit better. Like people like Pope Cyril, people like Saint Paisios. Obviously, he's in the Eastern Orthodox, right? But I tend to just look up to them, Saint Porphyrios, because of how, in their simplicity, just were able to connect with God in no other way, especially Pope Kyrillos, Saint Pope Kyrillos VI. So yeah, to answer the question, what do I do when I'm lost? I try to imitate them. I try to imitate how they dealt with when they felt lost, which was the case for Saint Pope Kyrillos. I'm not sure about Saint Paisios' story too much, or Saint Porphyrios. Oh, actually a little bit for Saint Porphyrios. When he was young, he definitely was lost. And ultimately, the amalgamation of all that comes down to you accept it. Like, you're lost for a reason. You don't know what's going on. And there is no verse that can best answer that situation. It's going to make us or myself feel good. The verses sound nice, and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. That's the reality of the situation. And just because you're lost doesn't mean that you won't be found again, is the thing that I'm holding on to. It's the aspect of being found again. And if all these men and women have been found again, and I've been found again in multiple situations where I felt lost and I found my path again, then it's only just a matter of time before I'm found again if I simply just do my part in being faithful to God, to my path forward. It's just a matter of time before I'm found again. And yeah, I hope that answers the question of what do you do when you're lost. Yeah, all right.